Chapter 20, Part C. Let me offer you two possible models for effective trend creation. I try to make a positive difference through education. If we want to have a positive effect on the future, we must give the next generation the most effective tools available for creating their world the way they want it. Our organization attempts to do this through our Unlimited Excellence Camps. In these camps, we teach kids to use the specific tools for running their own brains, to direct their own behaviors and thus the results they create in their lives. They learn to develop deep levels of rapport with people from all backgrounds, to model effective people, to break through limitations, and to reframe their perceptions of what is possible for them. At the end of the course, the majority of the kids tell me it was the most powerful learning experience they've ever had. It's one of the most enjoyable and rewarding programs I have had the privilege to conduct. However, I'm just one person, and our associates can reach out to only so many kids. So we developed a training program to provide teachers with NLP and other optimum performance technology skills. That was a great step in the direction of affecting more kids, though not on a large enough scale to truly create a new trend in education. Now we are in the first stages of conceptualization for another project, which we call the Challenge Foundation. One of the challenges many kids face, particularly those in disadvantaged areas, is that they don't have access to powerful and positive role models. The idea for the Challenge Foundation is to put together a library of interactive video presentations featuring the most powerful, positive role models in our culture, contemporary people like Supreme Court justices, entertainers, and businessmen, as well as powerful figures who are no longer alive, like John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., or Mahatma Gandhi. This will give kids powerful experiences to emulate. You can hear about a Martin Luther King Jr. from a teacher, and you can read King's words, but that's only part of the experience. What if you could spend 30 minutes and have him personally tell you his philosophies and beliefs? And what if in the last 5 minutes he challenged you to do something with your life? I would like kids to be able to model not just words, but tonality, physiology, and the total presence of these master persuaders. Many kids studying the Constitution, for example, have no idea how it relates to life today. What if we had a video of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court telling students why he dedicates every day of his life to upholding this document and how it affects them today? What if at the end of this he gave these young people a challenge? Could you imagine what would happen if massive numbers of kids across the country could have regular and consistent access to this kind of positive input and challenge? Such a program could change the future. If you have input about such a system, I invite your letters and comments. Another example of how to use influence to create positive new trends is the work of a man named Amory Lovins, director of research at the Rocky Mountain Institute in Snowmass, Colorado. Lovins has been involved in alternative energy projects for several years. Today, many people believe that nuclear power is too costly, too ineffective, and too dangerous to be used. Yet the anti-nuclear movement has made little headway because it's just that. It's anti-nuclear. Many people who move toward solutions wonder what the movement is for. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But Lovins has been able to have enormous success with energy companies by being a skillful persuader rather than a mere protester. Instead of attacking nuclear power companies, Lovins is providing alternatives that are more profitable because they do not require huge plants with costs that can run billions over budget. Lovins likes to practice what he calls Aikido politics. It uses the same principle as the agreement frame to direct behavior in a way that minimizes conflict. In one case, he was asked to testify at a rate hearing for a utility that was planning a massive new nuclear plant. Construction hadn't begun, but the plant had already cost $300 million. He began by saying he wasn't there to testify for or against the plant. He said it was in everyone's best interest, the utilities and the customers, to have a utility that operated on a sound fiscal footing. Then he went on to explain how much money could be saved by conservation and how much energy would cost if the hugely expensive new plant was built. In conservative financial terms, he discussed what that would mean to the company. It was a low-key presentation. There was no effort to rail against the plant or nuclear power. After he was through, he got a call from the utility's vice president of finance. When the two got together, the official talked about the effect the plant could have on the company's finances. He said the plant, if built, could cause the company to omit its dividend, a disaster for the company's stock. Finally, the official said that if the interveners wanted, the company would be willing to walk away from the plant, taking the $300 million loss. If Lovins had begun in an adversarial manner, the company would have dug in its heels in a way that would have satisfied no one. But by finding common ground, by trying to create a viable alternative, they were able to reach an agreement that benefited both sides. A new trend is beginning to occur as a result of Lovins's work. Other electrical companies have now contracted him as a consultant to limit nuclear dependency and simultaneously increase profit. Another case involved farmers in the San Luis Valley in Colorado and New Mexico. Farmers there had traditionally gathered firewood as their main energy source, but the landowners fenced off the area where they had gathered wood. These were very poor people, but a few leaders managed to persuade the farmers that the situation was not a setback but an opportunity. They began one of the most successful solar projects in the world as a result, and they gained a sense of collective power and goodwill they'd never had before. Lovins cites a similar case in Osage, Iowa, where the small local utility cooperative decided it was not using its power efficiently. The result was a push for weatherizing houses and conserving fuel, a drive so successful that the utility was able to retire its debt. It had 3 rate cuts in 2 years, and customers in a town of 3,800 people saved $1.6 million a year in fuel costs. Two things happened in both these cases. People were able to benefit one another by finding a win-win frame that helped them all, and they were able to develop a new sense of authority and security by learning to take action to achieve a desired outcome. The secondary gains in goodwill and community spirit that came from working together and taking action were as important as the money saved. These are the kinds of positive trends that can be created by a few committed persuaders. There's a saying in the computer world, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. It means that the quality you get out of a system depends entirely on what you put into it. If you put in bad, faulty, or incomplete information, you'll get the same kind of results. Many people in our culture today give little or no conscious thought to the quality of information and experience being input daily. According to the latest statistics, the average American watches television 7 hours a day. U.S. News and World Report states that young adults between grades 9 and 12 will see an average of 18,000 murders. They will watch 22,000 hours of television, more than twice the time spent in class during 12 years of schooling. It's critical we look at what we are feeding our minds if we expect them to grow and nurture our ability to fully experience and enjoy this thing we call life. We work like a computer. If we form internal representations that tell us blowing away villages with a machine gun is neat or that unhealthy junk food is what successful people eat, those representations will govern our behavior. We have more power now than ever before to shape the inner perceptions that govern behavior. There's no guarantee we'll shape them for the better, but the potential is there, and we should start doing something about it. The most important issues we face as a nation and as a planet deal with the kinds of images and mass representations we produce. Trend creation is what leadership is about, and it's the real message of this book. You now know how to run your brain to process information in the most empowering fashion. You know how to turn down the sound and turn off the brightness of the junk communication, and you know how to resolve conflicts within your own values. But if you really want to make a difference, you also need to know how to be a leader, how to take these persuasion skills and make the world a better place. That means being a more positive, more skillful model for your kids, for your employees, for your business associates, for your world. You can do this on the level of one-on-one persuasion, and you can do it on the level of mass persuasion. Instead of being influenced by images of Rambo deliriously blowing away other human beings, you might want to dedicate your life to communicating the empowering messages that can be the difference in making this world the way you want it to be. Remember, the world is governed by the persuaders. Everything you've learned in this book and everything you see around you tells you that's so. If you can externalize on a mass scale your internal representations about human behavior, about what is elegant, what is effective, what is positive, you can change the future direction of your children, your community, your country, your world. We have the technology to change it right here. I suggest we make use of it. That's ultimately what this book is about. Sure, it's about maximizing your personal power, learning how to be effective and successful in what you try to do, but there's no value to being a sovereign of a dying planet. Everything we've talked about, the importance of agreement frames, the nature of rapport, the modeling of excellence, the syntax of success, and all the rest works best when it's used in a positive way that breeds success for others as well as for ourselves. Ultimate power is synergistic. It comes from people working together, not working apart. We now have the technology to change people's perceptions almost in an instant. It's time to use it in a positive way for the betterment of us all. Thomas Wolfe once wrote, "There is nothing in the world that will take the chip off one's shoulder like a feeling of success." That's the real challenge of excellence, using these skills on a broad level to empower ourselves and others in ways that are truly positive, in ways that generate massive, joyous communal success. The time to start using them is now.